Hi everyone, welcome back. This is the 40th video in our series on building a chess engine from scratch in the Java programming language. Our focus has been on the GUI, and in the last two videos, we built out the taken pieces panel and the move history panel, but we did not hook them up to the GUI. Okay, so in this video I want to do that, and I want to also do a lot of other cleanup if time permits. So let's jump right into it. In the last video I did make one little error here. If you try to run the program right now, you're going to notice that it's going to complain, and basically what it's telling you is that the order of arguments here is incorrect. Right here in the enum we expect the score first and then the alias second, right? Like the name alias second, and I got it backwards. So if you just switch it around, that should fix that problem. So if we do that, then this will make it so that it compiles, and now you're going to run into another error, which is that you get a null pointer exception. And what's happening here is that, remember in the move class we now have two constructors, right? And this constructor really is convenient for the null move, but we're not using it when we construct the null move. So here when where we actually instantiate the null move, we want to invoke this constructor, which takes only two arguments, the board and the destination coordinate. So we really just want to give it, oops, I'm sorry, right here we just want to give it two arguments. And if we do that, then that error should go away. Great. So now we're back to working state in our game. And really, guys, when you hit problems like this, I highly encourage that you set a breakpoint and try to debug your issue, or look at your stack trace and try to determine what it's telling you, so that you can get past the problem. You know, in your career as developers, you will run into the occasional error, and you need to be able to understand how to debug it. So in this example, right, if I just sort of undid my change and I make it fail again, let's look at this. Here in the stack trace we can see, right, we can look at this stack trace, and we can click here and we can see, oh, this constructor is calling into this here, here, and then here, and I set a breakpoint here to figure out what was going wrong. So when I run my program, the first thing that happens is I come here into this breakpoint, and I can look and see that the moved piece is null. So if I try to invoke moved piece.isFirstMove, move, guess what? That's going to result in a stack overflow, or excuse me, in an exception. That's going to result in a null pointer exception. So if I say isFirstMove, null pointer exception. Okay, so that's how I usually go about triaging these issues, and you shouldn't shy away from doing it yourself. You know, I'm doing this code sort of live and on the fly. I'm bound to make mistakes. Of course, the unit test that I have, the extensive unit test that I have, also help me, but we haven't really covered that here just because for the sake of time. Otherwise, I'd need to make like 100 videos. So now that we've covered that, let's go to the table class. Right, and in the table class, we will see if we can get this right on the first attempt. We want to have the game history panel and the taken pieces panel, so we need to introduce that. And by the way, I have, as some of you may notice, I have increased the font size here just a little bit more, hoping that it's not too difficult to read. I wanted you guys to be able to see the code, and so yeah, that's why I did that. So let's see, next to the game frame, let's say private final game history panel, and private final taken pieces panel. Okay, now that we have those two things declared, let's new them inside of our, right out here, let's say this dot game history panel is equal to game history panel, and this dot taken pieces panel is equal to new taken pieces panel. So after we have initialized each one of these, we want to say we want to add them on the game frame, right? So here, let's say this dot game frame dot add this dot taken pieces panel on border layout dot west, and then we're going to add the game on the center, and let's say this dot game frame dot add this dot game history panel border layout east. Okay. Right. So we actually haven't tried to redraw these, but let's see what happens when I try to make this come up. Okay, so it came up. Not exactly what we wanted, but pretty close. This came up in the wrong color here. That's okay. I'll take that. But we do have the taken pieces panel here on the left and the game history panel off on the right. So that's actually a really good start. So where do I want to go next with this? We will want to update each of these panels when a move is made, right? So that really is happening in the tile panel, okay? So if we look at, go all the way down into the tile panel here, we want to say game history panel dot redo chessboard and move log, and I don't have that yet, and taken pieces panel dot redo move log, right? And I don't have that either. So I don't think that, even though we did declare the move log class, I did not do that here. So right, so the move log really just represents the moves that were made on the actual board that we're looking at. So let's say here, right under the board panel, let's say private final move log. And after we initialize the board panel, let's say this dot move log is equal to new move log. Right. And let's see if we can, I think what we want to do, pretty sure about this, we want to go to the tile panel class, back to the tile panel class, and after we execute the move, right, here, right, and I even have the to do there, after we say that yes, the move status is done, and we execute the move on the move board, we want to say move log dot, add move. Okay, this should be a good start. So if we can get this to work, then I think I'll be pretty happy. Oops. Oh, and now it looks like I have an, that's interesting. So we have a bug here that we'll need to look at. that's not quite right. I think I need to revalidate or invalidate something. So it's saying here, okay. So this needs to be debugged. Okay. Okay, so one thing I've noticed that I missed from my code when looking at the GitHub repository is that in set value at, right, when we call set value at, we want to, here when we say the column is 0, we're adding a row. Here we're updating a column, okay? And I forgot to call fire table rows inserted row. So there we want to basically just say that we're adding a new row when the column is 0, okay? And I think, let's see what happens when we play this now. Okay, so we still get an error. So I think we need to look at get value at here, and what we want to say here is, so we're not done implementing this, I don't think. I think we want to say, we want to get the last move, get the string, and if the last person to move is white, we want to say move text, calculate checkmate hash, current row. Here we want to say current row, and this is telling us that we're adding a row. So the column is going to be 0, right? We're calling set value at, and the row is current row. That's what I had wrong. And else if last move dot get moved piece dot get piece alliance dot is black, then this dot model dot set value at move text calculate checkmate hash on the board, current row -1 and 1. The column is going to be the second column, okay? So we're 0 offset, so the first column is 0, the second column is 1. So let's see if this fixes it. Okay, that fixed it, and the problem that we're seeing now is that the actual text, look at the actual text is not a pretty printed move, and presumably that's because a pawn move does not have the toString method overridden. Okay, so let's take a quick look at that. Let's look at the move class, and that's what we're going to do next. Now that we've hooked that up, I'm going to circle back to all of the move classes. So let's see. Let's go to the move class, and let's see. Some of these things have toStrings, and others do not. Castle, the pawn jump. Yeah, see, pawn jump doesn't. And so, like, if we just put, look, if I just put public string toString on this, and I said foo, return foo. If I do that, right? Let me quit the old version of the application that was running. Now if I run this and I make that same pawn jump, right? Boom, it says foo. So, right. So let me see if I can quickly fix this. Alright, so what we actually want to return here for pawn jump is the destination location. So let's see if we have a pawn jump extends move. I didn't break out the pawn move on its own, right? I think ideally what we want to do is we want to have a pawn move, and then from there we want to be able to have a pawn attack move and a pawn jump, right? And maybe en passant and things of the such. So, but why don't we'll take care of that later. What we'll do here is we'll say return board utils dot get position at coordinate, and it looks like I didn't make this method public, destination coordinate. So let's see, did I not make this public? Ah, right, I didn't make these methods, I didn't finish these methods. Right, so let's really quickly do that. So we're going to have two methods on here called get coordinate at position and get position at coordinate, right? And the idea is that if I give you this method, get coordinate at position, if I were to give this method E4, it would return me the tile ID, right? Remember the 0 to 63 tile ID of that. And this method would do exactly the opposite, right? So it would return the reverse mapping. So I started doing this, but I never finished it. So let's see if we can quickly do this. So one of these methods is going to return an int. That's going to be this guy, and this one's going to return a string. And let's uncomment out this right here. And each of these is going to have so let's see, initialize algebraic notation. Let's create a method like that. And let's put this method with our other methods and initialize position to coordinate map. And with these two methods working properly, then we should be okay. So let's see how we're going to implement these methods. So for initialize algebraic notation, right, what we're going to do is we're going to return a new string array, and the values are going to be like that of a chessboard. So it's going to be like, right, so it's going to be like A8, right, B8, and you don't have to type all of this out. You can go to my GitHub account to get this. So let's see if I can quickly bring. So here I've brought it up, and we can see, right? So basically index 0 maps to A8, index 63 maps to H1. So we're going to steal all of this. Hopefully this works. And boom, that worked. Okay. And the other method, which is initialize position to coordinate map, is going to be really simple too. This is basically going to say final map of string to integer position coordinate is equal to new hash map, right? And for int I is equal to 0, I less than num tiles, I plus plus, position to coordinate map dot put, and we're going to say algebraic notation of I. We're going to use the other thing, I, right? So we're basically going to say get A8 and map it to, reverse map it to 0, right? It's literally just the reverse mapping. And once we're done doing that, we're going to say return immutable map dot copy of position and coordinate, and we're done with that. Now, having done this, we should be able to see this come up. So there it is. Look at that, E4. It shows up. So now we have these the taken pieces panel and the move history panel working, and we have our board. It looks a little distorted. We're going to have to change the dimensions. It's not really a big deal. I'm not too worried about that. Obviously, you guys are going to be able to play with that as you like. But I do want to get back to, so in the next video, what I want to get back to is the tidying up the move classes, right? So they all print cleanly, the class hierarchy is correct, and en passant works. And for the most part there, we're going to have a working game. The last thing we'll do is, like in table, we will make it such that we can recognize checkmate and all that. That won't be too difficult. We have all the pieces in place now. It's just tying them all together. And then from there we can see if you guys have tolerate these videos and are patient, we can go through the database and PGN files and AI and all that. So anyway, please do rate, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon.